Dani, I want to appreciate you and thank you for this time that you're giving me today and the world to sit down with me and have this conversation. It's a very powerful topic what we're going to be talking about today. There's a lot of talk about business, about spirituality. In some worlds, it's like how can we combine the two? How does that even make sense? It's completely different worlds. And the business world is all about hustle, no emotion. It's spirituality. Well, we'll dive into what spirituality is, but to combine the two, that's what really makes someone thrive, not just for their business and having more profits and more healthy relationships in their business and connections in the network, but you're just genuinely more happy because of all the things that go on. And you have an amazing business with Storyflow, with being able to find your passion and do things that evolve the TikTok and marketing game, your branding and everything about it. And ever since meeting you, I knew just from the start that you were more than just a regular business guy. It was like you're definitely on that spiritual path within your business. And it's so amazing to have this conversation with you today, what we're going to talk about. And I really appreciate you coming on today, man.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. There's so much to talk about. And so, I mean, could kind of just give a general concept of what, or kind of just a foundation, right? We have to start off at like, what is spirituality?
Yeah, I mean, spirituality, I think has, received a lot of like negative energy around it because spirituality is, it's like a taboo word for a lot of people. Some people use mindfulness. People don't even want to get into spirituality because it means it's too feminine or something, but spirituality for me, it means leveling up your own consciousness and becoming more aware of yourself so you can become aware of the world around you. A principle that I live by is as within, so without. So everything that happens inside of you will reflect in your personal reality. So I always tell people that, business is a spiritual game. If you want to grow a business, you want to start a business, the business will only grow to the level that you are growing as a person as well. So the thing that I see, happening around me with people that I get in touch with is sometimes they struggle with, scaling their business, or they don't find a new way to improve their business. And most of the times they start focusing on these very small things like Instagram bios. They start thinking about, how can I change this word to this word? But what's really happening, like under the surface level, is they have reached a plateau, and I think how I perceive spirituality in combination with business is how I approach it is the more I am aware of myself, the more I can basically structure and streamline my business and do it from a very healthy place. That comes from a very healthy place within myself. Because I think if you start doing business for the wrong reasons, I want to earn a lot of money, materialistic stuff, I want to, make money off other people's backs.
Attention.
I want attention and validation. You don't come from a healthy place, and sure, money will come to you, but do you feel fulfilled from the inside, right? And I know people that have a lot of money, but they are not happy. They're not like fulfilled on like a spiritual level. And what I see happening, and I've experienced this myself as well, is it doesn't matter what you have around you. You can have beautiful friendships, you can have a lot of money, you can have all the materialistic stuff in the world. You still have this void inside of yourself that you're trying to fill with external things in order to make your internal state basically change and improve. But like I said, as within, so without, the moment you start shifting into a 2.0 version of yourself, you start improving yourself, you start becoming more aware of your own subconscious patterns and emotions and the decisions that you make. And you try to see the patterns between your thoughts and your actions and the outcomes. Then you start analyzing what is it exactly that you're doing? What is causing the external life that you have? Because I think everything that you have, everything that you see around you is created by you. Mm-hmm. Everything that you have is a reflection of who you are inside of you. So
your world is a reflection of your outer world.
Yeah.
As soon as I learned that quote, I started like as within, so without. So that's literally the same thing as your inner world is a reflection of your outer world. And not just in business, but in life in general as well. The way that you even think of yourself is going to correspond with the healthy relationships that you have if you're a friend. But that's also having to do with that self-image of who am I, who I think of myself to be as, and how am I going to start to establish a business? Like most people that go into business, they, like you said, they do it for the wrong reasons. But there's this aspect of also having the confidence without needing as much, like they don't have much experience yet. Moving into a new business, a startup, it's a challenging game for the only reason is because the amount of self-esteem and confidence and the minimization of fear that has to be there.
Yeah.
It has to be all in, always. You just told me, as we were talking before, you're going all in on storytelling.
100%. Yeah. I always, how I basically approach my daily life is how you do one thing is how you do everything. So without applies to all life areas. It's not just with business. How you do one thing in your relationship, it will also kind of influence how you do things in business and the other way around. So let's say you have a very difficulty with confidence or communicating with people in general. If you find that you have a difficulty in, communicating with a friend, with your partner, then it's also going to be very difficult for you to communicate with potential clients. So there's always like an underlying, most of the time, subconscious block there that people need to become aware of, but to grow and want to become better. And I think in terms of confidence, the reason why people are not confident is because they lack proof within themselves. So they are looking for, what do I need to improve myself in my business? I need a case study. I need to have I need to show my revenue every single month for people to believe me. So
needs to be perfect.
Exactly. So people are looking for these small outlets and they're pretty convinced within themselves that this is going to change everything. This is going to change the course of their business. But everything starts with you, and how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it all starts from the self, from you, the soul,
right.
Whatever you want to call it.
You're all these things that you're talking about, even Instagram bio, the little tweak in your business, or the new product, whatever it is. Maybe that's something that is bound to come, or if it's a helpful thing, but it's not a thing that's going to help you scale, help you stay in the game, help you be a successful business owner. It's the story that we all create in our own minds about what it is that is going to keep us consistent in staying through this game of business. It is a complete game, it's a finite game.
Yeah.
You see, what I'm really curious about is what it was your story coming into business.
My story coming into business, well, I grew up having nothing. And that sounds very weird. Maybe people know I come from the Netherlands, which is in general a very wealthy country.
Yeah.
But also in like a country, there's a lot of gradations in, let's say, income. My parents, they divorced at a very young age. I started living week with my mom, week with my dad. Both my parents got remarried as well. And it got to a point where I don't want to get into too much details. But to give you an overall perspective, I never was really valued for just being me. So when you are bullied, when you are denied, when you are neglected on an emotional level, for example, when you're not being taken seriously, all these things as a child, when you're 6, 7, 8 years old, when your analytical mind starts to develop, because when you're very young, everything becomes very pure into your consciousness, right? You don't have the ability to analyze things as you can do as like an adult, right? So everything that happened, it just felt already very, very weird, but I didn't know it better back then. So the reason why my story, there's the story of connecting to my business is I wanted to find the answers myself because nobody could give it to me. There was no money within our family, going to sports wasn't just, oh, you go to sports, amazing. No, my parents needed to separate money for me to go to soccer, to go to football, whatever you call it, not soccer. But yeah, things, you know, we've always struggled with money, but money was always the root of all drama, discussions, issues, arguments, and I think even divorce between my parents as well. So for me, money became very, very important when I started doing my business. I dropped out of school because I already really like, a very cliche thing. I don't believe in the school system. For me, it's true, and I started focusing on myself, and I told my parents, because I knew how much they invested into my education as well. I'm going to give myself 1 year to prove to myself I can do this. And they said, okay, we have your back, but just remember the struggles that we had been through in order for you to have this future. And I never forgot that. And within the first couple of months, I started seeing some results. And I came back to my father at that point. He was so proud. And at that point, I saw my dad working full time, taking care of a family of 7 people, always working, having no smile on his face, always putting himself like not even in the second or third, but on the fourth place. I knew I needed things to be different for myself and my future family, because I don't want my kids to go through what I did. Even though it made me the person who I am today, I'm very aware of that. I know there are also a lot of unnecessary things that happened to me that I still struggle with today, or that I'm not even aware of today. So to come back to your question, my story, I wanted to have money because I didn't have the opportunity to do simple things, I started working when I was 12 years old, which is very, very young. Because I already understood, like, if I want new clothing, if I want to go somewhere, if I want to buy a snack at the supermarket, my parents are going to give it to me. And if they could, they wouldn't, because, like I said, we were with a family of 7. So you cannot just give one person money and the other kids not, right? So I started to see the importance of money. And when I finally started earning some money, I started to feel that it's not fulfilling. Money is a tool. It's not my end game, or it shouldn't be the end goal. Money is just a tool for me to, what I later came to understand, freedom. I didn't have any freedom when I was younger. I couldn't make my own decisions. People always made decisions for me. So being able to finally have the freedom with money or with other tools, for me, it was always about the freedom. But again, I started doing business for the wrong things. I started buying the designer clothing, started buying the watches and the car and all these kind of things, and I was sitting in a car and I remember it, and I started to feel so empty. And I was like, I've worked so hard for it. I traveled the world, I have a car, I have these beautiful things around me, beautiful people, but I still feel so empty. Why is that? Everything that I thought was going to change my life, was going to fulfill me on a deeper level, it didn't. So then I took some time off. I quit my business, and I basically got back to work a regular job. And for lots of people, that's a very difficult decision to make, because you develop this ego around, I started this business at a very young age and I became somewhat successful.
Yeah.
But then it's very hard to let go of that, because you have already established that image to yourself, and also people around you, like, hey, he's doing quite good in life, Mm-hmm. But I also understood, like, I'm not doing it for the right reason. So I need time to, I need to make a decision to go back to myself and to choose, like, basically to withdraw myself from everything that I've built in order to do some introspection, see, okay, zoom out. What's the big picture? What has been happening over the last couple of years? And how did I come to the point where I am today? And one thing that I saw clearly is I was always trying to prove myself. And I did that with impressing other people with, look at my revenue, look at my clothing, look at my watch, look at my car. And I was like, always looking for weird validation of other people, knowing that eventually I knew I came from a very unhealthy place within myself. And if you are not aligned with your true self, then you start handling and making decisions that are not aligned with your true self either. It's within, so without. So I took some time off. I started traveling for 8 months. I didn't do any work. Basically, I did some projects that I still had brought in the background, but I didn't do much work. I really tried to get back to myself, or maybe even discover a new sense of self. And the conclusion was that I'm in this game for a completely different reason. I think it's a spiritual reason to contribute, doesn't matter the materialistic thing. Right now, I'm just wearing boohoo man clothing of 5-10 euros. Why? I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
My whole wardrobe in my home, it's full of designer clothes, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what was I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
So I changed my belief and my way of approaching business, and eventually I started seeing in my outer environment that the right people came to who basically validated me. Not validate, but they appreciated me for who I was, not for who I was pretending to be. I attracted healthy business with healthy relationships. Things started flowing to me. I wasn't chasing anymore. I was always working, hustling, and eventually I got to a point where I'm like, if I can come from a place of abundance, I know that if I feel abundant, then wealth will come to me, not the other way around. Then that changes the whole game. So, my story from when I was growing up was really about it has always been a spiritual game from when I was very young, even though back then I didn't know it was spirituality or whatever you want to call it, mindfulness or personal growth, self-development. I've always been in this game from a very young age. And for me, it's not about necessarily making more money or to do bigger things. For me, it's about doing the right things over and over again and making the most pure and honest decisions for myself in the long run.
Would you say that it started off being something like around the lines of self-obsession, and then now it's just how can I contribute?
Yeah, I was very selfish. I'm not selfish, but like I said, I did business for the wrong reason. So when I was money, it was money. That's 100%. And the moment that you start seeing money and you clearly see that it doesn't really it drives you because you've always lived without it. So you either model it like you're going to be broke for the rest of your life. I did want to make a change, but the moment I got there, it was like so weird. This is not it. What's going on? I finally have it. I can make my own decisions. I can work whenever, wherever I want. I can travel. I can buy my things. I can bring people with me, on holiday. But why is it not fulfilling me on a very deep level? And that's because everything that I did was rooted in money decisions, basically, and not from, but I would now say human decisions. You work with people.
It's so funny because it's I think maybe people go on this path of business for the wrong reasons to start with, to get something out of this world, and maybe you could get into having money quicker in this way because you're looking for these problems and looking to exploit a certain person. And, this is why I totally disagree with the whole OnlyFans business.
Yeah.
It's exploiting men just at an extreme rate. And it's just using a weakness to get money, right? It's a very unethical way of gaining money. And I mean, who knows? Maybe the owner of OnlyFans is completely unhappy and dissatisfied because of, but I couldn't tell you. I don't have this conversation. I don't have this conversation with him, but what I was trying to lead to is maybe if one starts off with the ethical ways, the ways of how can I contribute to the world and what am I most passionate about and how can I monetize this? Because at the end of the day, when you look at business is about making money. It's creating something, creating money, creating more, and being abundant, right? It's solving some sort of problem. But maybe it's easier and faster to do it this first way where it's unethical, but it takes longer, but you're more fulfilled. That's been in the other format of business.
The world we live in right now, and to be honest, I cannot really blame young teenagers starting a business. I want to earn quick money or put $10,000 into crypto, hoping it will be a millionaire the next day.
Yeah.
Because that's what is, the people on social media are they're conditioning us in a way. You have all these gurus buy my course here and let me coach you there and all these kinds of things. And for sure, there are a lot of good coaches and a lot of good courses, but it has become a way of making money rather than really helping people. And I think that's the unethical part about it. I see people around me, investing a lot of things like money or time or energy into the wrong things because they want to earn quick bucks. I understand. I've been there too. And I think for some people, it is necessary to go through that process as well, even though they think it's perfectly for them and it's going to work out, to get to that point where they realize that's not the way of doing it. And I think everybody right now needs to go through that process of thinking that I need to earn quick money and then I'm going to be fulfilled. I'm going to live a happy life. And for sure, some people will experience that because they have no greater awareness than what's happening within themselves and around them. But also a lot of people like me, they come to the conclusion, this is not the way. And you're always working with other people. And, I started looking at things in terms of like energy and vibration. It sounds very spiritual and very feminine maybe, but when you start looking at things like energy, I don't go out anymore. Why? Because I know the energy that right there is not influencing me in the most pure and positive way. So same with people. I had to say goodbye to a lot of friends when I was doing my business because, they were not completely alike with me anymore. You meet each other at a certain point, but when you start growing, if they don't grow with you, you create a gap. And the gap can only be closed in two ways. You go back or you try to level them up, But sometimes they're not ready to learn and they're not on the same path as you. So,
it's a very patient process to go through. Like for me, my business didn't start off with this wanting to get money. There was some aspects of it at the beginning. I first started, the second business that I ran into was crypto, it's Forex, and the business was a multi-level marketing company. They were all more or less in than trying to teach them the foundations of trading.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized this maybe 6 months into it. I mean, I'm really enjoying the process of learning the how to trade and make money like that. But the entire fact, the characteristic of trading is about my money.
Yeah.
And it's a very emotional thing to work with money. It's coming from fear. It's not always coming from abundance, and it just triggers so many emotions. But inside of my business, that was not even successful, but I thought it would be, but I didn't have the right feelings that was in that. And I got out of it. And then I was just super reflected in my work and what was passionate to me. And I went to work as a server. And then all of a sudden, as I kept continuing on my own process and personal growth and reading books and then trying to develop myself as much as I could, I eventually understood that being a coach was the best thing that aligned with me. Right. And this is the perfect process. It wasn't me wanting to get something from other people. It was me serving, contributing. Yeah. And so it was a really troubling situation that I had to go through, but it wasn't as intense as most people go through where they actually start making money. Right. And they see that and then they get more cravings of that money. And whenever it's not there, it's
a cycle because the moment they receive money, they feel kind of happy but they still miss something and they get so attached to money, which comes, like you said, from a very unhealthy place, which is fear, right? I know people that watch this video probably know Tony Robbins or like Joe Dispenza. They have all the financials in the world, but they always come from a very healthy place within themselves.
Yeah.
Because money is not their biggest driving force. It's serving.
Yeah.
Same with coaching. I think you've received a lot of like feedback from people like you're way too young to be a coach, right? So I've been coached. I've coached people in there as well, not like a main business or anything, but more like along the way, because I think for me that's something I want to do in the future as well. But right now I'm just focused on other things. But this whole taboo around like the age of being a coach, people like, especially kids like us, we grow up pretty quickly. That has to do with, again, into like little star seeds and then the light show, the light workers kind of themes. But people that come to Earth right now, they are very, very aware already. The children that we have being born right now are already on a spiritual awareness that we cannot comprehend in a way. But with the age of coaching, the thing is with people, they don't, of course, they want to learn from people who are way further than that they are, but they most often like to learn from people that are just 2 or 3 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you hire someone, if you are a coach, you have an inspirational source like Tony Robbins, there's a big gap between where they are at and where you are at that moment. So it can also become very demotivating, and it can
it's not personal either.
Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I think for you, I know you've been a long time now. I think coaching is something that you need to do, because it's something that I see in every cell of your body, and every conversation that we have. I see the coach, Sam. It's a very natural way. I don't even call you a coach. It's just like, it's who you are. Right?
I totally am aligned with it as well. And it's just because of the intuition that I rated within my spirituality. It's the spiritual side of me that I've been able to correspond with and align with, and the understanding of intuitions. But it comes really down to like the thing that I would say was the core characteristic or factor, the thing that really helped me. This is something you align with as well, which is journaling.
Yeah, absolutely.
You tell me that you only journal on intuition. Why or just on feeling? Why is it?
I always say journal out of inspiration, not out of obligation. What I mean by that is I try to dedicate myself to journaling every day, and kind of made it a little bit mandatory to write every single day. But sometimes, yeah, if you force yourself to do things, then I don't think it's necessarily aligned with your true self, your higher self. So the skill that I've tried to develop over time is to get in touch with my higher self. And higher self, yeah, some people call it your gut feeling. Some people call it, getting there through meditation. There are several ways of getting in touch with it. But I came to understand intuition and feeling. I think right now, all these business guys, guys in general, they lack emotional intelligence. They're not in touch with themselves, and therefore you will see a lot of burnout. You see guys getting into this hustle culture, and it's not serving them at all. It's just what they are being told to do. And of course, you will get to a certain level with hustling, for sure. You need to work hard. That's what I don't say that. But the thing is, as long as you come from a healthy place within yourself, you will know what things are aligned with you and what things are not aligned. Therefore, self-awareness, self-exploration, self-discovery is so important, because if you don't know things about you, if you don't know yourself, how do you expect your life to be created? You will be a product of the people around you, will be a product of your life, right? And other people will start controlling or like creating and shaping your thoughts and emotions, and they will make you make certain decisions and all these kinds of things. So,
but there's a twist to that, right? Because when we look at spirituality, in my opinion, I think that spirituality is your relationship with your soul.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? And so within that, when you're able to tap into your soul, you're able to come from abundance. You're able to tap into wisdom that you never even been able to. But with that, your soul only is about light. Your spirit is all about light, wanting to be giving that light as much as possible. And so you'll see people out there that are super tapped in. But then there's also this side, because we talked about this earlier, where your inner world is a reflection of your outer world, right? So that essentially means that you are a reflection, you are a mirror of your business. And so your business is going to operate the same way that you are internally operating it. But what I was trying to link that with when we talk about situations of people in your environments, right? There's nature that we also have to connect with. The spirit is connected to nature. You are nature, but nature is also others. The nature of others is being able to tap in with not just the plants or the way that the animals are operating at, just the frequency of the world. But you also need to be able to tap into others on an energetic level. So, and this is the twist, right? Because you can be involved where you're not tapped into your spirituality and you're being tossed and turned by people in every other direction. But then when we look at spirituality in business, it's all about networking and connections and relationships.
Relationships is the key word here.
It's the most important thing. You always hear network is your net worth.
Yeah.
This is literally the thing that if you were to just know someone that is well connected, they will be able to live anywhere they want, fly anywhere. All you have to do is just have a little bit of money. They don't need a lot of money, but as long as they have just the connections, doors open so easily.
Yeah.
There's this book called The Third Door. Alex Bateman or something.
Not familiar.
It's a really, really interesting book, and it's talking about the non-stereotypical way of getting into business. And it's by finding, like, okay, so we look at a club. You don't go in the first door as there's a boss, right? There's guidelines, there's people that are there. And there's maybe the back door, but the back door is kind of it's shady, it's dark, and there's not much light there. You can't really see what's going on. And so the third door is knowing someone, or just being able to say, like, even if it's just a status, there's always a different way to get into business, and that starts with relationships.
Yeah, and to go a little bit deeper on that, maybe it's like a concept that people are not very familiar with, but something that I know is like your soul contract, right? Is people that come into your life. There are two types of people that basically come into your life. It's people that I call passengers. They just are with you for a certain amount of time to help you become more aware of yourself. Because the reason why we're all here is already predefined. That's what I believe in.
Determined.
Yeah, predetermined. Yeah. So all the people that come to your life, let's say your girlfriend or a business partner, it was already determined before you came here in the first place. So what I believe to be true is everything that comes on your path is meant for you. Whether it's negative situation, there's a lesson there. Whether it's someone who could open a door for you, like a connection, it's a positive outcome for you. People that come into your life, they're either passengers or they're like people that stay for the rest of your life. Let's say in Paris, they stay with you for the rest of your life. They also have like the biggest influence on how you are shaped as a person. People, maybe I go a little bit off topic here, but when I started to go back to my story, I always thought that I was born at the wrong family. I was like,
Shoes.
exactly. And I was like, this cannot be true. I'm so pure, I don't have any bad intentions. I always try to help other people, and all these bad things happened to me. I started to act like the victim of my own circumstances. And when I started diving more into spirituality, I started to realize like everything is always happening for me, not to me. So the moment I really got like that concept in my head, I stopped suffering in a way. Because even though when bad situation happen around you, or maybe you meet some amazing people, it's always for you. And I think if you start to realize that everything is happening for you, you will stop living as a victim and you start to take ownership of your own life. Because I know people that they're friends of mine, try to make them more aware. That's why I am here, to help people become more aware of themselves. That's my mission here in a way. But they really act like a victim of their own childhood or like their external circumstances, And I always tell them these things need to happen. The reason why all these things happen is one, because your soul needs it in a way. There's a lesson there that you need to learn in order to move forward. Maybe people can relate to this. When you experience like problem and you don't solve it, you don't take the lesson out of it, it keeps coming back. And people are like, why is this happening to me all the time? Why do you think that is? Because you're not learning something from it. You're not taking out the lesson.
Everything is a learning experience.
Yeah, and if you start thinking like, okay, maybe a negative situation happens. Okay, I can learn from it, right? You either learn or you win. So you can never lose, like, logically.
So that's like, and when you look at it as a business aspect, it's like take risks, and but your business partner.
Yeah, I know you're
your business partner is a great example.
Lucas watching.
Exactly, right? And it's because you are a person that loves to take risks.
Yeah.
Luke is all about a book. He's buying the Excel sheets and like does this mathematically work.
Risk aversion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is this it's like you can take too much risk in these situations, right? Where we talk about there's people that are just like, they're taking so many risks, they're doing like stupid things, and then the same problem keeps coming up over and over and over again. But then there's also the other aspect of like, if you just take a risk, you learn from that for the first time and then come back to it again.
Well, I have the perfect example. At first when when I started working with my business partner, he is so I wouldn't say structured, but he is so low risk. Like he's very careful with okay, how much money do we spend here, and I was sometimes very frustrated by it because I've always lived from a very high risk. I'm just going to do it, and whatever comes out of it, either I lose some money or I lose an experience or whatever, but I still learn something from it. But it also put me sometimes in a very bad position where I got depressed or where I didn't feel good about myself anymore. So my business partner is like one of these people that come into my life that's going to teach me, hey, it's okay to take risks, but well thought, like, well based risks. Before I was very impulsive. I wasn't not really like high risk. I'm going to do whatever the F I want and see whatever turns out. So my business partner is like one of these people that really helped me understand a part of myself that needed to be improved, right? So, because business is not sustainable by just an impulsive decision. Not if you want to scale it to multiple six figures a month. It's not. I always think in terms of longevity of the business. The longevity of the business is directly correlated to the longevity of yourself, of you as a person. So the more you can stretch, the more you become aware. In other words, zoom out and see the whole picture, and you see like the patterns between your actions, your thoughts, and the outcomes that you have in your outer environment. You can directly evaluate, reflect, analyze, and do better on your own actions. And Luke, my business partner, was one of these people. I kept getting into a discussion with him. I'm like, why? Just fucking listen to me, And then I'm like, he's completely differently wired. I respected that in a way, but it was also in my way. My business partner was completely okay. He didn't have these kinds of like frustrated feelings I had. I experienced like, come on, bro, we have to go. And I realized, okay, I started operating from this unhealthy place within myself again. You have to make money. And I'm like, it's okay to make money, but it needs to come from a healthy place. So I get back in touch with myself. We've had a lot of discussions together. And right now, actually, I'm perfectly balanced between, okay, what is a very good risk to take? Sometimes I'm still very impulsive by nature, but I always calculate like, okay, is this a risk that I can take financial wise? The risk that I can take relationship wise with my business partner, all these kind of things. So I do, yeah.
There's a little bit of planning that goes inside of it. But in the experience that when we first met, I was planning a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And there's that aspect of like thinking too much about your fucking Instagram bio. It's like all these things that are just too much of a plan that you can't overplay something that you haven't done yet.
It's pure comfort zone.
Yeah.
You start doing the things like planning and writing your goals down week and changing your Instagram bio because you think that's going to change your business. But what's actually happening within your psyche is you're just doing things that make you feel comfortable because you don't want to do the uncomfortable things, which is pick up the phone and make that call, send that email, go out there and do that presentation. We are wired to survive, not to thrive, right?
It's the path of this resistance.
Exactly.
Is where we typically are, it's least resisting, right? So that's why we want to go down that path if our brain is like, okay, I have multiple decisions here. Why do that hard thing when I could just do the easier and that's what I'm on?
Yeah.
Right. And it still feels like you're productive.
Exactly.
It's that feeling like you are productive. But at the same time, we were just talking about this earlier, like there are feelings that are involved in business.
Yeah.
How do you understand the feelings that are appropriate and the ones that are just not from your intuition?
I think how I approach business, of course, I'm a very harsh person. You know that. I'm very direct. I'm very direct with my words, my terminology, because that's sometimes what people need. And people hate me for that. People also love me for that. That's the thing. I'm always saying things that come from the purest heart, but I also a lot of the time see lessons within other people that they don't see themselves. But yeah, I think for me, it's very controversial because we get taught don't involve feelings in the business. I can find myself within that argument, that opinion in a way where, let's say you have a very important meeting, you need to be very, you need to be rationally thinking. But at the core, you're always working with people. And for me, I do business pure out of intuition. More than 90% of the time. When it really gets like very close to a deal, or it gets to close, new project or whatever, I'm very business wise, I'm very harsh, very direct, very logical, and not many emotions involved. But I also know in order to have long-term partnerships, long-term potential with your business, longevity again, it's all about relationships. The average time that the clients work with us over a year, not because we delivered the most amazing result, because we came to understand them at a personal level. We built that relationship on a personal level. We remember things about the social media marketing manager, about her kids going to football, and then the next meeting, hey, how was the soccer game? That is understanding their needs, their desires, their life. And it's a very psychological thing, but it's something that will increase the longevity of your business immensely. Business is a spiritual game, and it's all about relationships.
Yeah, there's of course the feelings of being empathetic and reasonable within people, but then there's also the feelings that go on within ourselves, just what we feel like we want to do. And there's some, there's people like 𝐿𝐮𝐢𝐿 out there talking about your feelings and just do the work, right? It's like this hustle culture and just ignore everything and just don't have a morning routine. Just do what you got to do every single day. Do that hard shit. I don't know if I always agree with that, because there is this book that I currently called Time Management versus not time management, mind management.
No.
And so it's understanding, he even goes about playing it with thought time and feeling time. And there's all these different aspects when you involve the feelings. It's really playing the game of business with feelings, letting yourself, if you feel like you're tired, if you want to kind of take a day off or just kind of relax, you have a variety, but some days, there isn't that chance, especially for an artist, you could say, or some performer. All of a sudden they're feeling like crap 10 minutes before the performance. What do you think we'll do? Yeah. Can't just go home and then cancel everyone on the show. It's a very troubling thing. Sometimes you gotta push through it, and other times you gotta listen. It's that intuition as well. It's understanding, where am I relating with myself? What is my spirituality with myself? Yeah. There's the spirituality between others and the spirituality between yourself. And when you put these two together, the others and the self, you get to have business.
100%. To come back to this, like Alex and Logan part, I know people have all these inspirational guys or girls, women. How I approach these kinds of gurus and very influential people is, I'm not going to just take whatever they say and internalize it in a way, and this is going to be my new way of operating in business. Or, people with underdate. I think he's a good guy, and the things that he say make sense, but sometimes I don't agree with the way, for example. Right? So I always try to find things that people say, or people say it, or the way that they present themselves, that I can use for myself. But I never just listen to one person, right? Yeah. It's the same. When I start talking to people, the first question I often get asked is, are you religious? And I said no. And the reason why I said no is because I don't find myself within one framework of a specific religion. I get my wisdom from every single one of them. Yeah. I find wisdom in every single religion and culture. And that's why I call myself a spiritual guide, because I believe that all religions are there for a reason. But for some reason, for me at least, I don't match with one of them too much. If I have to choose one religion that I feel connected to the most, it would be Buddhism, because for me, Buddhism is all about the self, right? It's more about the spiritual practices within ourselves than just believing in God or anything. And I do believe in whatever you want to call it. I call it source, or the source of everything, universe. I completely I know for a fact that there's a higher force playing with us every now and then, right? We have for sure have had these extraterrestrial or just like unconstitutional
unknowing things, right?
Yeah, but I mean more like I know sometimes I have like these sacred moments where I really feel guided. You know? I channel energy, and especially when I'm working with people, oftentimes I know the things that I say, or how I behave, or how I present myself, doesn't directly come from the self. It comes from the channeled energy, channeled information that I receive. You know? And it's for some people a very difficult concept to understand. But to be honest, I think come back to the conclusion of how we started this conversation is the more you understand yourself, the better you can serve others, right? You have this quote: if you don't love yourself, you cannot love others. And to some extent, that's very true. If you have a very unhealthy relation with yourself, how do you expect to be healthy for other people, right? As within, so without.
Mhm. There's a lot of mix when we talk about the self. You know, there's all these things that people go through, and these feelings and these emotions and these fears and these desires. You know, they're sometimes it's irrational. Sometimes it's the mind playing. Sometimes it's the gut feeling. Sometimes it's just alignment, or sometimes it's your intuition, right? You only can know whichever one it is by understanding yourself more and being able to tap into yourself. And this is allowing yourself to be really reflective and not necessarily having to do anything, but just to be with yourself some days. And, you know, I look at old experiences or old folks when they hear about, okay, so much time on my hands to actually be able to just listen to my intuition and self-reflect. It's like, why would you, in their eyes, you have too much time on your hands. Well, you just get to work and just do what you got to do. The world nowadays has become so, from what it seems to be, it needs some sort of baseboard or something that they can rely on. Something that's why, you know, some people, they've evolved to religion and spirituality to be able to have this confidence in themselves, and employ, persevere, and have the strength and the confidence to be able to do anything that they want to do, especially in business, right? And then there's just times where it's just so challenging, and you just want to give up and you want to quit. And it's like the balance and the controversy between them is,
Yeah, I've been in many times in that position where I feel like giving up. And the moment I started to understand that emotions and feelings are very healthy, it's a part of our human experience. That's the thing. You cannot escape your feelings. They're there for a reason. And emotions oftentimes are just feedback mechanisms of what you've been thinking in the first place. So you have this loop of thinking, feeling, thinking, and feeling. And the moment you cannot think greater than how you feel, then you become like the victim of your own mindset. Because then you're just talking about when you feel tired, do you take a day off, do you keep going? You really have to understand what is really going on within yourself, because it's very easy to just give yourself the excuse like, I'm so tired now, just go do it tomorrow. It's very easy to do that, you know. If you find the justifying, it's also, you know, justifying your behavior because you think you're doing the right thing. And, you know, you can go very deep with this, and we can talk about this for hours, but to make it somewhat practical, start doing some reflection of yourself. You know, take the last 2 years of your life and see what were like the big happenings, what were like big decisions that I've made, and how did I end up here? You know, right now we're in Vietnam. You know, 2 years ago I made a fucking vision board with I want to live in Dubai, I want to drive a Lamborghini and stuff. Yeah. I'm right now here in Vietnam, immersing myself in the Vietnamese culture and Buddhism and meditating, all these kind of things. It's so funny because we think we always have life figured out. That's also, people think they need to have life figured out at 25. I always thought I had the belief that I was behind the curve because I didn't have the right cards being dealt when I was born. I was always behind. I saw all these people on social media, oh, they're having all this success, they go everywhere, you know. And then the moment I started, you know, getting more in touch with these kind of people, the outside looks perfect. You know, the social media looks amazing. But when you meet them in real life, they're just fucking depressed. Yeah. And then I'm like, I know one thing for sure, that's not who I want to be. I rather, you know, that's also why I stopped posting that much on my TikTok and because I prefer feeling good within myself, not showcasing it to other people. That's also why I've become more private with what I share on socials, because I think privacy is a very important thing at this point in time, where people just overshare everything. Same with the OnlyFans, people share their bodies and people share basically everything. I've seen videos on YouTube where parents they basically document the birth of their new baby, and I'm like, that's a sacred moment between you and your wife. Why do you have to document and then show it to the world? Yeah, because there's money involved. You get views and you get AdSense from YouTube, and I'm like, I don't think I would be able to do that yet. Same, yeah.
What is the originating intention, right? What is the real thing that I want in the business? And most of the time, it's skewed. It's not right. It's unethical, or it's for the false self of this image that we can be perceived as. And that has to do with money, or being able to have that status, being able to have narcissistic cars, and being able to be liked. That's also a big thing.
Especially the last one, because it's also like a pattern, right? So people, they see other people on social media, and they see that they're successful, they have this amazing life, and then they start to get themselves, and they start gaining some followers and some likes, and they start seeing results, and then people get somewhat addicted to these emotions of dopamine and validation from other people. You're doing amazing. 10,000 likes here. People become addicted to the numbers. I remember we had a conversation where you were a little bit like disappointed because your likes went down. Like, bro, what are you talking about? 300 people saw your video,
But you put 300 people in front of you. How are you going to respond?
Exactly, So I completely let go of, I mean, of course, views and likes and those kind of things is part of my work, because we do TikTok marketing for other businesses. But we also tell them, like, it's not just about the likes and the views. It's about what you do with it, right?
Yeah.
And people become addicted in a way subconsciously, because they're programming their body in a way that they are receiving all this dopamine in terms of likes, comments, and reactions and compliments from people, that they're basically constructing this self-image online. And the moment that they have built this image and they've built this persona, this avatar of themselves online, it's very hard to deviate from it, because you need to prove yourself over and over again. So you're in this endless cycle of proving yourself in order to, one, give your body the rush of emotions that it needs in order to keep going. Two, make sure that you have the same outcomes in your outer environment. So it's a cycle, and it's very exhausting. I think
Very exhausting. I can't tell you enough. It's just a real trap that we can fall into with social media and not being able to tap into that original self. It's one of the most important things to be able to have such contacts and intuition with the self, and being able to have that self-awareness is obviously the first part, right? And when we talk about, because I just had a workshop just last week, and we had and we brought up the topic of authenticity. And so there's authentic people, which I believe is a mix of the false self and this ideal self. Yeah, because this is the characteristics of the false self. The false self wants to get which is called the ideal self. All they want to do is create. This is the two key differences with being authentic. You put these together, this is what you call authenticity, because you're working towards something that you're passionate about, you're working towards something that's amazing and what you feel called to do. But then at the same time, this is you creating, you have to get something at the end of the day. You can't create you need something to pour into you as well. Like that water, that's the thing you get more of.
Yeah.
Full, or empty, and you're going to get to people with the glass full. No, you gotta get something at the end of the day.
For sure. I mean, you cannot keep going on forever, right? I mean, we all need to live a sustainable life. In today's day and age, without money, you end up on the streets. So, of course, money is still very important, but it shouldn't be number one driving force. To come back to this, the constructions of these two people is basically handling out of the ego and handling out of your operating from the higher self. ego always wants, I'm not talking about ego in terms of like being selfish, just being self-centered. I'm talking about ego like the psychological construct that it's living within ourselves. Ego is all about like getting things. It's about, doing things from a very unhealthy place, basically preventing being uncomfortable, not changing, do not want to change. If we are in a situation where I can choose for myself and I actually move forward and the other person I'm dealing with goes backwards, I still choose for myself. It's handing out of the ego. Still, although it's rooted in fear, right? It's rooted in uncertainty. If you operate from the higher self, you don't really care about the end destination. It's about the process of getting there in the first place. Mm-hmm. The ego is all about like the short-term pleasure. Right? I want to drive this amazing car. I want to earn 50K a month within now and 6 months. I want to grow my social media following to 100K followers in the next 12 months. Amazing goals, just not mine, because I know it's not going to be fulfilling at the end anyway.
It's an internal motivation and there's issue. It's like the 𝐬𝐮𝐢𝐴 followers. This is having to do with external motivation. And then when you look into internal motivation, that's the 𝐻𝐻𝐾.
Yeah.
Right? Internal motivation or the external motivation, that's the false. So, but the thing is, there's a healthy balance of external motivation and internal motivation to actually achieve things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you tell me that everything is determined at the same time, right? So it's like, how does that all play a factor role of day-to-day or determining?
The difference, I mean, I don't want to get into this like whole cosmic story, but let's face it this way. The difference, if people know, what's her name? Dolores Cat, something, the old girl,
Yeah, sure.
old woman. She, right now, what's happening in the world right now is we are shifting from the 3D timeline to the 5D. So people who are very aware, you have different stages of consciousness, right? So let's say, when people have a low level of consciousness, they tend to have certain characteristics like being selfish, things. But what's happening right now is the only difference that we have is we always have the free will, right? And it's not that everything is determined. There's only one way possible. There are multiple timelines, multiple ways of getting to the end of your life. And I certainly believe that at the end of your life, when you're laying there, and, you take your last breath, I think I truly believe that you will be presented the version that you could have been in this life. And then you can either, be very grateful for it when you know that you could have done better. But there are always multiple scenarios. There's not just one way, right? So the only thing that I can do, that I want to do, is make sure that every decision that I make comes from the soul, from my intuition, comes from a healthy place. Sometimes I also don't know what decision I have to make. One thing that I then do is meditate and really get into that, self, into the self really, and try to analyze what's been happening and try to understand it. To give you, for example, one example, yesterday, I've been offered a very nice partnership within a business of a friend of mine. And I know that the service and the business that he has is a gold mine. I know it. And he can make a lot of money with it, And I was offered a very good position within his agency. And despite the fact I already have my own, but of course I could have made that decision and I could have made a lot of money there. And we could have, expanded this business very, very immensely. But for some reason, the days that we had the first contact until the last call yesterday, I was feeling, my stomach wasn't feeling too good. Every time I started thinking about this partnership, my intuition was saying, this is not the way. This is not the decision. And this is something that you need to develop over time, because you need to understand the difference between fear and intuition, right? Fear always screams. You feel it in your chest. Exactly. And with intuition, it's always very subtle and it's very, very soft. That's why developing the more feminine characteristics like flow, movement, your emotions is very important, because you will distinguish what's happening within yourself. So yesterday I started meditating for like 45 minutes. I got onto the call and I said, I'm not going to do it because right now it doesn't align with where I want to be. And for sure, I could have made a heck of a lot of money there. But I also like, as long as I stick with what is right for me, it will come to me anyways. This morning I woke up, I received an email from one of the prospects that we've been in touch with, a very big multinational company. They want to work with us for 6 months. I'm like, this cannot be a coincidence. Yesterday I made a decision that I've been thinking about for 2 or 3 weeks. This communications with this potential client has been going on for months, since February or March. I believe that I needed to make that decision. This partnership that was presented to me was basically a test. Like, are you worth it to grow your own business from a healthy perspective, from a healthy position within yourself? Yeah. Yesterday, I made a commitment. Yes, I'm willing to do that, despite when maybe I need to wait until the next partnership for another year. I don't know. But I know that when I come from a healthy place within myself and I handle problem, I let go of the money, I let go of the things outside of me, and I stick with myself. The next day, things come to me. I start attracting the things. So this is what people call manifestation, law of attraction. I don't really use these kinds of terms. It's been a very negative, loaded emotion and feelings towards manifestation and stuff. But it's really about causing an effect in your outer environment. That's what manifestation is. It starts with you. When people struggle with something, the first thing I say is, the search should not begin outside of yourself, within yourself. And the moment you find answers, and the answers are already present in your consciousness, you just need to find the right questions to ask yourself. That's go back to journaling. That's why I journal out of inspiration. When I need answers, when I want something, or when I need to understand something, I start journaling. And when I start writing, bro, I can write a book in an hour. I cannot stop. I get into the flow state because this is, for me, it's like an energetic transaction that's happening between me and my soul, because I'm talking to myself on paper in a way. My thoughts get very practical and visible, tangible in a way. And I have a conversation with my higher self. That's what it feels like for me when I'm journaling. So when I get my pen, I start writing. I don't stop. And when I journal, the only thing I do is I ask myself questions.
Exactly. The question is the best thing.
It's
These are the questions that we have to ask us. And when you're talking to someone, when you're asking yourself about what it is that I want, what are the intentions that are involved with this business? What are all these characteristics? Is this person right with me? All these things. It's like our brain is a problem-solving machine, right?
Yeah.
And so when you correspond brain, your body, and your spirituality together, you can create so much. You can create abundance.
My body's full connection, bro.
It's the triad.
Yeah.
And that's going to give you everything that you really want.
And from a healthy place.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. And it's something that people need to develop. It's not something that happens overnight. People ask me, I did a podcast a few months ago with a Dutch girl, and she said, "When did you get into spirituality?" I have no clue.
Yeah.
No idea. From what I feel, I've always been a spiritual person from the day I was born. But what is spirituality? What's the moment you get into it? I have no idea, but I've always been very aware, very spiritual. I mean, yeah, when do you get into spirituality? How do you even say to people, hey, you need to get into spirituality? What does that mean? How do you do it, right? So what I do with my teachings and when I coach people, when I get in touch with people like you and we have conversations, is not come from a place where, okay, I need to explain spirituality in a spiritual way. I try to explain spirituality in a practical and a scientific way, because people like facts and they like statistics. And, sometimes people cannot grasp the things that they cannot see, because if they cannot see it, it's not there. It doesn't exist. But people still believe in God, right? It's also not something that you can see, but people believe in it. It's the same thing with yourself. If you know you can achieve something, even you don't have it yet, you can program yourself, condition yourself to get there. Reality will catch up eventually.
It's seriously such a powerful thing when one is able to tap into their true self. It's like high enough, but also having the okayness, having things being a little bit determined at the end of the day. But you always have a choice in the moment right now. Your intuition is guiding you either way, and we're connecting the dots backwards. is what we're doing. We can have a little moment right before meditating of what should I do right now. There's a question, is journal, and try to figure out what is important for me to do right now. And maybe you can figure that out over the next month or the next 5 months. But for me, like being in Vietnam, I don't have a plan. I just go with the flow. This is the best thing about being tapped into something like that, because then you're creating so many things and people and experiences and opportunities that you actually created.
Yes.
It's not just the situations that just came in and all of a sudden you're lucky. You created them by becoming a different version.
It's about becoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's not fake it till you make it. It's see it until you be it.
Yeah. 100%.
Or be it till you see it.
Yeah. It's incredible. You can go so deep on these kinds of topics, but maybe to go back to like the spirituality and business part. Yeah. For me, spirituality means, just like I said in the beginning, is becoming aware of yourself and having this connection with your true self and to whatever you believe in, at least. And I don't want to, let's insult other people or call it a religion or God or whatever. I just say whatever you believe in. For me, it's source again. But, being able to navigate through your life based on things that come from the true self, I think then the things will find you, and you don't have to find outside. You don't have to look for things outside of yourself. It's something that people always talk about cause and effect, right? And I think it's about causing an effect. It's not like, oh, something happened, so I'm going to change how I behave. No, I will create that change myself. Business, it's not that the business is going to scale itself. It's not that we can wait until a new client comes to us. No, we put in the work first, and how we build ourselves. The business is being shaped and being built as well.
Plans to have this the scenario, how things are going to look out, and finances. You have this whole executive summary, right? The proper thing to do is to have at least a short executive summary. That's the most amount of planning that someone needs to do. That's probably the best amount of what you could say. And up to that point, all about is just executing, just doing.
Yeah,
is not doing anything new. Give yourself 3 months and see what can you do. This is also, you told me you wanted to commit to yourself. What you can do. This is what I did for coaching business. It's taking off.
exactly.
I committed to a year of seeing what I could do. And at the last moments of being in business, things started clicking for me. And it's such a troublesome process to be in business, to scale business, to even go into business. And with this story that people create for themselves, really needing to understand where it is coming from.
Yeah. And one thing that I sort of like, something people need to understand, your life changes in a moment.
One of this
One moment. But sometimes it can take a year to get to that. It's not that the moment just showed. And people always are waiting, They think if I do A, B, C, then X, Y, Z will come to me. It's not just how it works all the time. Sometimes you need to build momentum without expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
Right? Do it from a very selfless.
So start wanting to give, start wanting to create. And as you have that abundance of experience, or not necessarily experience, but the motivation, all that abundance that you have, the money to give, you will receive. That's how the law works. So you have to give to receive.
Yeah.
You can't receive without giving.
I mean, you can, but then, we have a lot of these people already. You don't want to be liked.
The people that they struggle in a financially stable house, and all of a sudden their father is, or their family is just a multi-billionaire family, and it's just, it's a rich kid type of thing, right? And they just get it. They just are born into these situations. This is something that you're going to receive, but not create something for yourself. It's like that attitude. The story is, I always get stuff. Right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think you have experienced the same thing, because I think I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast is I really don't. I really come from nothing. And a lot of people say this, but when it's very difficult for you to go to sports, which every kid would be able to do and go to school, getting clothing from your brother, not being able to buy new ones. It does something with you as a child. So I know how it is to have nothing. I've been okay with it. And the thing is, I've come to a point where I was okay with that, because I know I couldn't blame my parents anymore for my past. I cannot blame anybody for my past. It has happened, right? The only thing that we can do is how we respond to it and how we handle it in the future, right? What we take out of it, right? The moment it keeps influencing you and your decisions, then you are living in the past and you will be predictable in your future, because then the same things will happen, right? So the moment I realized, okay, maybe this was a belief. I don't have the right cards being dealt to me right now. What can I do about this to change it? Yeah. What is within my locus of control to change my situation? And then I started thinking, okay, I've laid my parents for earth. It's not working anymore. Maybe, my old business partner, he took my clients and he destroyed the business. Yeah, that happened. So what? And then never going to start a business again. You will fall back to mediocrity and you will become a product of your boss experiences if you don't resolve them in a way. The only thing that you really have to do is either take a lesson out of it or forgive people. That's another important lesson that I learned is forgiveness. You do that for yourself. Forgiveness is about forgiving a situation, forgiving a person, and finding peace within yourself. Even though the situation has been sum it up. Yeah, and I'm not talking about, let's say, physical abuse or like these kind of things that happen in very childhood traumas, these kind of things, but all these kind of things, yeah, it's happened very weird, but these things needed to happen too, Yeah, it's so important to understand that at all times, you have to take ownership for your life, not anybody else. You cannot expect anybody else to give you something in order for you to change, right? You cannot wait until somebody gives you a hand and says, hey, I can fix your life, because they can't.
Yeah.
Nobody else can fix your problems. It's very simple. If you weren't here, your problems wouldn't also be here, right? That's how I see problems. If I have problems, I need to solve it because they're mine. If I wouldn't be here, my problems would also become, right?
The way we solve problems is exactly how you solve this first problem of what am I doing with this situation? What was that? The question.
Yeah.
The question that we asked ourselves, and when we have coaches, when we have peers that care about us, what are they doing? They're asking us questions.
Yeah.
Questions that we haven't asked ourselves yet, or haven't thought about it in these perspectives. When you look at it, you can solve anything in this world by asking yourself a question.
Yeah. By the way, this is just a lemon juice. It's not like a cocktail or anything. But it looks very chemical, but it's actually quite nice. But you're right. People need to take ownership of their lives, despite what happened in the past, despite what people did to you, despite what people said, Okay, let's say you duct tape the person who mentioned that you are an idiot, shoot them to the moon. Now what? You still have to deal with these emotions. What people do is they will find the next person to blame, because that's easier, because engaging consciously with your own problems and your own emotions is very difficult. It's very scary for most people, right? So that's something that I always try to do, because I know that there was my revelation was the word. Yes,
revelation is right.
They're like the
kind of the beginning.
Yeah.
Of something ending.
Exactly. Yeah. Not with other people, and maybe this is also not healthy from me, but I try also make other people's problem my problems. Maybe it's also a little bit like business wise that you create this pattern, also with child. Yeah. But
distinguishing it, and I think completely different topic is understanding the differentials between the business parts.
Yeah.
Yes, we talk about the self being a reflection of the business, but that's the one thing is how you do it. That's the only characteristic we're looking at. But when you're trying to separate business from life, personal life, when you're having fun, when you're with friends, are you your coach? Are you the coach? Are you the salesperson? Are you the person that's looking at all the products that you're passing by or everyone's gonna be like, oh, picking this up. It's like, we don't have to be in that business mentality or the coach mentality or kind of problem solver mentality all the time, because it's quite exhausting, to be fair. It's that feeling that there's just something that there's missing. It's something that it's hurting. It's just being able to be okay with those feelings at times, because sometimes there doesn't need to be an answer. It's just letting yourself need to experience this at this time. And that's pretty much all it is. It's just patience of what is becoming next.
Oh, I have an amazing example. I think a lot of people can relate to this, because I have always been very fascinated and maybe obsessed with the question, what is my purpose? Right? And I was getting so obsessed with this question and I couldn't find the answer. And then eventually I asked myself the next question. What if my purpose right now is to be purposeless? To just free flow. I've always done everything by the books and tried to think everything out, construct my reality. And what if I just need to surrender myself into the moment right now? The moment that happens, I found, I'm not going to say my purpose, but I found a part of myself that is going to be very, very beneficial for myself in the future. Right? So maybe something that the people watching can take home are like a little exercise. I do it myself every year. Not necessarily every year, but when I start to do my business or when I start to feel a little bit like something is going on, something is off, I don't feel healthy, it's okay. What are like the biggest events that happened over the last year? Or maybe even to start this, your whole life, the day you were born until today, what are like the 5 to 10 biggest happenings that happened in your life? And what were like the biggest situations that led you to this point? Maybe people have experienced childhood trauma, abusive father, drinking, drug abuse, something with relationships, somebody screwed you over, somebody cheated on you, somebody stole money from you. What? Maybe also positive things, right? So I started a business. I made my first $2,000 online. I quit my job and I do charity work right now. What are like the biggest events over the last 6 months, 6 years that have determined the path to where I am right now? What is like the pattern between those two? And can I see commonalities between what I was thinking, the decisions that I made, and like the outcomes that I received? And if you can see the synchronicities, the commonalities between those decisions, then you will see very clearly what you need to change about yourself. That's my first.
Principles of a decision.
Yeah, exactly. And if you understand why you make certain decisions, because maybe you act out of fear because you're acting out of like a self-defensive mechanism. Maybe you're self-sabotaging yourself in a way because you don't know better, right? People can only change the things that they are aware of. So the first way to become more aware of yourself is to start asking yourself questions rather than looking for the answers. Yeah.
And I really love this topic, and I think the overall theme or the character, the practice that people and ourselves need to work on every day is taking ownership of the character that we are in, and being able to just look at it a bird's eye view, not taking so much attachment to the situations that we're in. It's like, okay, what if this? What if this? What if this? Should I? And yeah, it's all those huge stuff, right? Yeah. It's more important just to focus from the bird's eye view, the third perspective, of being able to write it down and just look at it as it is.
Introspection, right?
Introspection.
Yeah. So one question that I do ask myself every day is, I don't make to-do lists with 10 different items and then feel ashamed of myself or feel guilty for just doing the 3 of them. I ask myself the question, what is one thing that I can do today that's going to bring me closer to my goals or my purpose, my destination, right? And if you ask yourself this question, you're not going to put a lot of pressure on yourself. Like, I need to do 10 different things in order to grow my business. I need to read the book. I need to spend 15 minutes to this. And a lot of people have like 2-hour morning routines. No, bro, just do effective things. What's one thing that I can do today practically to come closer to my destination? And that's sometimes it's just take a day off. Today I need some rest. Maybe the next day is, I need to write down one email. And if you ask yourself this question, you will see that most of the times these are very uncomfortable things to do, right? But when you have like 10 different items, you will always postpone and delay the most comfortable ones.
Yeah.
And then you start developing this pattern of procrastinating, and then you will never get into the real serious work. And then that's the reason why people don't see results. They end up in this cycle of hard work, of seeing results, work harder, seeing results, work even harder, burnout.
Yeah.
Or like feeling unsatisfied, feeling empty.
So the thing I need to ask is, I love this question, and since I've been asking myself this question, I'll make sure I said a little bit different. Is what is one thing that I can do today that will make everything else easier or unnecessary? And it's a really great question to ask. But then one question that I actually realized that came to my life right now is, what is the one thing that I can do right now, or what is the now? That's the necessary. Because yes, you can list down that one thing that you can do. What is the now point? How can you actually use your time and be the master of your time and the artist of your calendar, be able to respond to everything in your flow of the day and do the things that are it takes? That's the biggest probability.
Yes. And I think that's why we need people like you. Because one thing I know a lot about, like neuroscience, how our brain works and stuff, but our brains always find reasons to not do something, right? So the more time you have between a thought, let's say I need to do this, and actually the action of doing it, sometimes it takes hours, days, weeks, months, years, to shorten that period. Let's say somebody is like a coach, like you know, what is something you could do today? Then give yourself maybe 10 seconds and start doing it immediately, right? Same with like the cold showers. Like when it's fucking winter, nobody wants to get into that cold shower, right?
Yeah.
I do a cold shower every single morning, despite if it's 5 degrees outside or like 35 degrees outside.
Yeah.
I give myself, I really don't want to do this. And I analyze what's happening within myself, and I laugh about it because I truly understand the conversation I have with my voice in my head. Just skip one day, bro. I'm like, no, of course not. It's just being consistent, right? Yeah, but it's still fucking cold outside. You already woke up very early. And then our brain comes up with excuses from taking the leap or doing the action. So one thing that I do with myself, especially with like cold showers and stuff, is like, I count to 3 and then just do it. Yeah. Don't give your brain the time to come up with excuses or like ways or reasons not to do it. And the moment I went into the cold shower, 30 seconds, 1 minute, I go out, feel good.
Amazing.
And then your brain is like, well, was not that bad, right? It's just fear. It's like the body becoming the master of your thoughts and say, let's do it tomorrow. Let's skip one day. You know, it's fine. Take some rest. You've been doing this consistently for over 3 years. Well, what's the difference for one day? Nobody will know anyways. Yeah, but you will keep fooling yourself if you give in to these temptations and to these thoughts, right? Just because you have a thought doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And sometimes it's just your brain playing games with you. And once you start understanding this and you start to realize that not every thought that you have is true, you start looking at your thoughts as like also with like birds for you, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the exercise that I do with myself when I'm very like stressed with like thoughts and stuff, I have a lot of things going on, is I do a meditation, and the only thing that I do is every thought that I have, I see it as like a cloud. And I'm like flying over the clouds, right? Every thought that I have is a cloud, and I start visualizing how cloudy the environment becomes. And then I know, okay, how bad is it? And what can I do about it? And sometimes when I start meditating, and I can get into this, to these very low gray waves in like 1 or 2 minutes very quickly, because I've been meditating for a couple of years now. And then I get to the point where I don't feel my body anymore. And there's a very low brain activity in my brain. And I can see that it's not that bad at all. It's me making it worse by, all these external factors. Something goes wrong. Somebody cuts me off when I'm driving the motorcycle, or somebody is, being very slow in front of me. These very, very small triggers, they tend to like increase the volume of our stress. Like we can realize when we should go and sit down for it. I'm not saying that stress is not there. I've experienced a lot of stress, and that's sometimes completely fine. Every organism in nature can handle short-term stress, but long-term stress is just very unsustainable and actually makes you sick. I don't know if you know that, but that's how it works. So, yeah, it's so important to sit down and maybe even have somebody next to you, like a coach like you, to help you with the basic principle. Because you cannot solve their problems. You can just help them create a system or create a workflow for themselves on which they can rely on moving forward. Investing in you is investing in the rest of your life. If you keep doing it yourself, that's the thing, because you can hire a coach, but a coach is not going to do the things for you. You can hire a personal trainer. He's not going to do the bench press for you, right? You have to do it. He can stand there and say, one more, come on, bro, one more. That's what he can do, but he cannot do the weightlifting for you. You have to do it yourself, right? That's why we have a coach like you. You can just say, hey, bro, I have a system for you, and it works. Maybe, we need to adjust it a little bit for you, but that's why I'm here. It's a very personal interaction. That's something that I think also the reason why we became very good friends in the first place, because you really care. And there's no selfish agenda behind it, because I can sense that. For me, I like I said, I notice energies, and I notice very shifts in people's intentions and their body language and everything. The moment I start feeling things are very like not sincere and very selfish, or like any negative emotion behind it, like a hidden agenda, I will know. And I will cut the crap. I will give it to them, or just walk away.
It takes time to get to that point, and coaches have their own methods, and to things that talking are like, to get to the point that, I'm the answer, any other person, but it's really just about understanding typing of yourself. And, like you just told a little bit earlier about the soul, and maybe your purpose is purposeless. It's like, are you okay with that? What's the rush? Yeah. And when you look at the whole thing, it's like life can go by in a blink of an eye, but you actually have a lot of time. Yes, time is actually a preconceived thing. It's a man-made thing, but we have to be okay with the timing of things that don't necessarily go with the way that we want, right? And this is just, if we don't know this timing and we don't have this self-awareness, that's okay. Time will allow you to build that over time. It's going to happen over time.
Yeah.
You just have to give yourself patience, give yourself the not feelings of shame, but feelings of like abundance. Like I have it already. I don't need it. I'm not attached to being super successful, all this money. It's just, I'm okay with where I'm at now.
Yeah. And it's really about staying in that mindset and like reservoir of emotions, because like I said, if you are consistent in your daily actions, and I'm not just talking about, I'm doing this business task for this, no, really about the self task as well. Then, and you, let's say you visualize what your dream life wants, how you want it to be. If you keep that alive within your mind and you start doing the daily things that is going to get you there, reality will catch up with you. You will attract it in a way, right? So it's very plain and very simple. Just start doing and stop thinking too much. And it's very funny to come from me, but I think about everything. But that's human nature too, and
we just need to be proactive because we're afraid of uncertainty. It's something else happening at the end of the day, and when we come to on or it's
deep down,
it's just, it really comes to being okay with not having any attachments and being peaceful where you're at.
It's
no hard. It's very good.
Yeah, but it's about finding the balance between not being okay or satisfied or complacent with where you are, knowing that it's about knowing that you are in the right place at the right moment. I believe in divine timing, that you are where you need to be, but at the same time striving for more from a healthy place, right? So not be complacent and be like, it's going to come to me, or people are going to show up in my life and they're going to give it to me or whatever. No, it's about being okay with where you are, because you're not late, you're not early, you are right where you need to be.
It's perfectly crafted correctly.
Exactly. It's divine timing. Yeah. So, and then just put in the work every single day, whether you start a business, whether you want to do charity work, whether you want to do a 9-to-5 job and, become like a nurse, which is, I think, a very beautiful job. I'm not against this 9-to-5 culture thing, a 9-to-5, it's like a construct that we need in our world, right? So
This putting in the work doesn't mean to be actual making money as well. It could be just the internal work as well.
Look, it starts there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. You mean we got to put in the work for the spirit, the body, and the mind.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
And if it's okay if you miss a few days, but it's like everyone is already technically tapped into their intuition. It's like there's some level of it where that higher power of themselves is like trying to nag them a little bit. It knows already that you're out of line, and you can get back in line and just fix one of the triad. And once you have a perfect triangle, this is an era.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's you're pointing, you're moving.
Sometimes how I would like to describe this is you're on the highway, right? It's the highway to your goals or to your dreams, whatever. Sometimes you take an exit, right? Taking an exit because maybe you see an opportunity, or you can, just like me, last couple of weeks, I've been offered a very nice position within an agency. Sometimes an exit is needed for you to get back on track as well. To take the road. And yeah, it's really about understanding yourself to really align with your true self, attracting the things that are right for you. So
I really appreciate this conversation.
It was a good one, bro. Thank you for having me here.
There's so much power in this open event. I really I'm so happy to know you as a person, and as a mother. It's like feel our souls have been purposely honest and not just being interconnected together. It's not just a passenger. It's like feels like almost like a partnership in a way. It's like our souls have been interconnected.
And we've found souls found each other, right? And also at the right moment, because you would have met me, for example, a year ago, we would have never have connected, never.
Yeah.
Same with you, probably, right? So again, divine timing. We met each other when we were both ready to meet each other. Who knows? Maybe we'll be together as friends for the rest of our lives. Maybe there comes a way where there comes a time where we have to part ways. It's also completely fine, because there's also one thing that I want to say is about relationships. I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, especially when you break up with someone. They always try to blackmail the other person, or put them in a very bad spot, right? This is a perfect example where the villain, the soul comes in, right? Because I look at my relationship, even though it's my ex-girlfriend, it's still a human being. And I have been able to share a part of my life with my ex-girlfriends, with my friends, and they have made me the person who I am today. So I don't have any hard feelings towards any, friendship that broke up, or relationships that broke up, romantic people, romantic partners. I always look back with immense gratitude, because I know without them I wouldn't be here. So for me, there's also no room for hatred, bitterness, and being very, very mad at someone because someone did something to me. I know that my love will always be bigger than any situation that comes my way, because I've already gone through the most intense fires and intense situations that I've been carrying so much light and love that I will be able to overcome everything. That's what I believe in, and that's also what I'm prove myself every single day. I've have situations happening. I think I told you with my ex-girlfriend right now, with videos and stuff. I look at it, and the first thing that I say, I hope you heal from this, and I hope you find a place within yourself where you can, look back a relationship and find peace there for yourself, find forgiveness. And I've already done that, so that's why I will never be affected by her anymore. But sometimes people get so caught up in these emotions that they're making so many decisions that are not aligned with them. And they know it's all right to do, but they still do it because it's not with angry. Right? So yeah, as well as computer, especially in relationships, the true self shows itself because our partner directly reflects us in a way, right? We see ourselves in other people.
That's true.
And if you show up differently, then the other people will show up differently as well. You get this with Odin, right? With the gathering of the boys.
Yes.
But
it's you can create everything you want to be as long as you can show up as the best version of you. You can create the relationships, the people, the situations, and that's how we've been able to come into our life, and we made those decisions to not be here today. And it's a blessing to be able to be in this situation and to know you and to know your soul, and to be able to share this wisdom together and to give it to the world as well. It's a beautiful thing that what we're doing, and it's just to open up some people's minds.
That's all it is. And that's also the only thing that we can really do. It's about making people become more aware, and eventually they have to make the decisions for themselves. But we can be the messengers. Like, just that person that's going to say something differently, and they're like, "Hey, what's happening right here? This guy is saying this a very weird thing. This pattern interruption is happening, right?" You clear out the noise inside of their heads. They hear something completely controversial, and they're like, "Huh, interesting." Right? I'm always so open-minded to everyone because I don't mind who is standing in front of me, like a CEO of Apple, of like janitor. I can learn from both people. And again, they're both human beings. So that's how I look at people. And I don't care about titles, status, or these kind of things. For me, everybody's a human being. There's a story of none of us. The body is just a construct, right? It's just the pleasure bones. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Dani.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah.